design thinking stands for design-specific cognitive activities that designers apply during the process of designing. Overview: design thinking has come to be defined as combining empathy for the context of a problem, creativity in the generation of insights and solutions, and rationality in analyzing and fitting various solutions to the problem context. According to Tim Brown, CEO and President of IDEO, the goal of design thinking is matching FEOPLI unregistered trademark's needs with what is technologically feasible and viable as a business strategy. The premise of teaching design thinking is that by knowing about how to successfully approach and solve difficult, multi-dimensional problems, more specifically, effective methods to ideate, select and execute solutions, individuals and businesses will be able to improve their own problem-solving processes and skills. There is also significant academic interest in understanding how designers think and design cognition. The first formal academic research symposium on design thinking was organized at Delft University of Technology, the Netherlands, in 1991, and has developed into a regular series. Origins of the term: for a detailed evolution, see history, below. The notion of design as a way of thinking in the sciences can be traced to Herbert A. Simon's 1969 book The Sciences of the Artificial, and in design engineering to Robert McKim's 1973 book Experiences in Visual Thinking. Rolf Fast expanded on McKim's work at Stanford in the 80s and 90s, teaching design thinking as a method of creative action. Peter Rowe's 1987 book Design Thinking, which described methods and approaches used by architects and urban planners, was a significant early usage of the term in the design research literature. Design thinking was adapted for business purposes by Fast's Stanford colleague David M. Kelley, who founded IDEO in 1991. Richard Buchanan's 1992 article, entitled Wicked Problems in Design Thinking, expressed a broader view of design thinking as addressing intractable human concerns through design. Solution-based thinking: design thinking is a formal method for practical, creative resolution of problems and creation of solutions, with the intent of an improved future result. In this regard, it is a form of solution-based, or solution-focused thinking. Starting with a goal instead of solving a specific problem. By considering both present and future conditions and parameters of the problem, alternative solutions may be explored simultaneously. Cross asserted that this type of thinking most often happens in the built, or artificial, environment. This approach differs from the analytical scientific method, which begins with thoroughly defining all the parameters of the problem in order to create a solution. Design thinking identifies and investigates with both known and ambiguous aspects of the current situation in order to discover hidden parameters and open alternative paths which may lead to the goal. Because design thinking is iterative, intermediate solutions are also potential starting points of alternative paths, including redefining of the initial problem. Brian Lawson, Architects vs. Engineers, 1979. In 1972, psychologist, architect and design researcher Brian Lawson created an empirical study to understand the difference between problem-based solvers and solution-based solvers. He took two groups of students, final year students in architecture and postgraduate science students, and asked them to create one-story structures from a set of colored blocks. The perimeter of the building was to optimize either the red or the blue color. However, there were unspecified rules governing the placement and relationship of some of the blocks. Lawson found that the scientists adopted a technique of trying out a series of designs which used as many different blocks and combinations of blocks as possible as quickly as possible. Thus they tried to maximize the information available to them about the allowed combinations. If they could discover the rule governing which combinations of blocks were allowed, they could then search for an arrangement which would optimize the required color around the design. By contrast, the architects selected their blocks in order to achieve the appropriately colored perimeter. If this proved not to be an acceptable combination, then the next most favorably colored block combination would be substituted, and so on until an acceptable solution was discovered. Nigel Cross concluded from Lawson's studies that scientific problem-solving was done by analysis, while designers' problems solved through synthesis. Kelley and Brown argue that design thinking utilizes both analysis and syntheses. Analysis versus synthesis. The terms analysis and synthesis come from Greek and mean literally to loosen up, and to put together respectively. In general, analysis is defined as the procedure by which we break down an intellectual or substantial whole into parts or components. Synthesis is defined as the opposite procedure, to combine separate elements or components in order to form a coherent whole. However, analysis and synthesis, as scientific methods, always go hand in hand. They complement one another. Every synthesis is built upon the results of a preceding analysis, and every analysis requires a subsequent synthesis in order to verify and correct its results. Divergent thinking versus convergent thinking. Design thinkers also use divergent thinking and convergent thinking to explore many possible solutions. Divergent thinking is the ability to offer different, unique or variant ideas adherent to one theme, while convergent thinking is the ability to find the correct solution to the given problem. Design thinking encourages divergent thinking to ideate many solutions and then uses convergent thinking to prefer and realize the best resolution. Design thinking as a process for problem solving. Unlike analytical thinking, design thinking is a process which includes the building up of ideas, with few, or no, limits on breadth during a brainstorming phase. This helps reduce fear of failure in the participant, and encourages input and participation from a wide variety of sources in the ideation phases. The phrase outside-the-box thinking has been coined to describe one goal of the brainstorming phase and is encouraged, since this can aid in the discovery of hidden elements and ambiguities in the situation and discovering potentially faulty assumptions. One version of the design thinking process has 7 stages: define, research, ideate, prototype, choose, implement, and learn. Within these 7 steps, problems can be framed, the right questions can be asked, more ideas can be created, and the best answers can be chosen. The steps aren't linear. Can occur simultaneously and be repeated. A more simplified expression of the process is Robert McKim's phrase. Express test cycle. Define, decide what issue you are trying to resolve. Agree on who the audience is. Prioritize this project in terms of urgency. Determine what will make this project successful. Establish a glossary of terms. Research, review the history of the issue. Remember any existing obstacles. Collect examples of other attempts to solve the same issue. Note the project supporters, investors, and critics. Talk to your end users, that brings you the most fruitful ideas for later design. Take into account thought leaders' opinions. Ideation, identify the needs and motivations of your end users. Generate as many ideas as possible to serve these identified needs. Log your brainstorming session. Do not judge or debate ideas. During brainstorming, have one conversation at a time. Prototype, combine, expand, and refine ideas. Create multiple drafts. Seek feedback from a diverse group of people, include your end users. Present a selection of ideas to the client. Reserve judgment and maintain neutrality. Create and present actual working prototype. Choose, review the objective. Set aside emotion and ownership of ideas. Avoid consensus thinking. Remember, the most practical solution isn't always the best. Select the powerful ideas. Implement, make task descriptions. Plan tasks. Determine resources. Assign tasks. Execute. Deliver to client. Learn, gather feedback from the consumer. Determine if the solution met its goals. Discuss what could be improved. Measure success. Collect data. Document. Although design is always influenced by individual preferences, the design thinking method shares a common set of traits, mainly creativity, ambidextrous thinking, teamwork, user-centeredness, curiosity and optimism. An alternative, 5-phase, description of the process, as described by Hasso-Plattner, is define the problem, design never ends. Need finding and benchmarking, understand the users, design space. Bodystorm, ideate. Prototype, build. test, learn. The path through these process steps is not strictly circular. Plattner states, while the stages are simple enough, the adaptive expertise required to choose the right inflection points and appropriate next stage is a high-order intellectual activity that requires practice and is learnable. Attributes of design thinking, rules. Plattner asserts that there are 4 rules to design thinking. The human rule, all design activity is ultimately social in nature. The ambiguity rule, design thinkers must preserve ambiguity. The redesign rule, all design is redesign. The tangibility rule, making ideas tangible always facilitates communication. Wicked problems, design thinking is especially useful when addressing what Buchanan referred to as wicked problems. Wicked problems which are ill-defined or tricky, as opposed to wicked in the sense of malicious. With ill-defined problems, both the problem and the solution are unknown at the outset of the problem-solving exercise. This is as opposed to tame, or well-defined problems where the problem is clear, and the solution is available through some technical knowledge. For wicked problems, the general thrust of the problem may be clear, however considerable time and effort is spent in order to clarify the requirements. A large part of the problem-solving activity, then, consists of problem definition and problem shaping. The aha moment. The aha moment is the moment where there is suddenly a clear forward path. It is the point in the cycle where synthesis and divergent thinking, analysis and convergent thinking, and the nature of the problem all come together and an appropriate resolution has been captured. Prior to this point, the process may seem nebulous, hazy and inexact. At this point, the path forward is so obvious that in retrospect it seems odd that it took so long to recognize it. After this point, the focus becomes more and more clear as the final product is constructed. Resistance, fear and the devil's advocate. There are factors which can slow or halt the design thinking process. Fear, resistance and playing the devil's advocate. These attitudes introduce destructive negativity. Fear of failure or criticism may prevent someone from even beginning apply methods and processes to achieve their goals. Both have psychological effects which divert someone from focusing on solutions and shifting their focus to doubts of self-worth, anxieties of will it be good enough, or procrastination. Resistance can inhibit design thinking by reprioritizing the main goal and shifting efforts to other tasks which may need to be done. Donald Shah paragraph N talks about the resistance of students towards their professors and the resistance of professors towards students in the learning process. Playing the devil's advocate is constant naysaying. Making authoritative assertions as to why every proposed solution will not work. It is an embodiment of negative criticism. Devil's advocates kill projects by shifting the focus from potential solutions to hypercritical issues with ambiguous effects. The goal is to stop further ideation towards a solution, which, according to Tom and Dave Kelly, ought to be banned from the room. Methods and process. Design methods and design process are often used interchangeably, but there are significant differences between the two. Design methods are techniques, rules, or ways of doing things which are employed within a design discipline. The methods for design thinking include interviewing, creating user profiles, looking at other existing solutions, creating prototypes, mind mapping, asking questions like the 5 whys, and situational analysis. Because of design thinking's parallel nature, there are many different paths through the phases. This is part of the reason design thinking may seem to be fuzzy, or ambiguous, when compared to more analytical, Cartesian methods of science and engineering. Some early design processes stemmed from soft systems methodology in the 1960s. Koberg and Bagnalls wrote the all-new Universal Traveler in 1972 and presented a circular, 7-step process to problem solving. These 7 steps could be done linearly or in feedback loops. Stanford's D School developed an updated 7-step process in 2007. Other expressions of design processes have been proposed, including a 3-step simplified triangular process by Brian Lawson and Hugh Double's ebook How Do You Design? A Compendium of Models. The use of visual analogy in design thinking and learning. Ill-defined problems often contain higher-order and obscure relationships. Design thinking can address these through the use of analogies. an understanding of the expected results, or lack of domain-related knowledge for the task, may be developed by correlating different internal representations, such as images, to develop an understanding of the obscure or ill-defined elements of the situation. The process involves several complex cognitive mechanisms, as the design task often has elements and multiple cognitive domains. Visual, mathematical, auditory or tactile, requiring the usage of multiple languages, like visual thinking. Differences from science and humanities. Although many design fields have been categorized as laying between science and the arts and humanities, design may be seen as its own distinct way of understanding the world, based on solution-based problem-solving, problem-shaping, synthesis, and appropriateness in the built environment. One of the first design science theorists, John Chris Jones, postulated that design was different than the arts, sciences and mathematics in the 1970s. In response to the question, is designing an art, a science or a form of mathematics, Jones responded, the main point of difference is that of timing. Both artists and scientists operate on the physical world as it exists in the present, while mathematicians operate on abstract relationships that are independent of historical time. Designers, on the other hand, are forever bound to treat as real that which exists only in an imagined future and have to specify ways in which the foreseen thing can be made to exist. Design can be seen as its own culture and education, with its own methods and ways of thinking which can be systematically taught in both K-12 and higher education. Nigel Cross sets out to show the differences between the humanities, the sciences, and design in his paper Designerly Ways of Knowing. He observed that, the phenomenon of study in each culture is, in the sciences, the natural world; in the humanities, human experience; in design, the artificial world. The appropriate methods in each culture are, in the sciences, controlled experiment, classification, analysis; in the humanities, analogy, metaphor, evaluation; in design, modeling, pattern forming, synthesis. The values of each culture are, in the sciences, objectivity, rationality, neutrality, and a concern for truth; in the humanities, subjectivity, imagination, commitment, and a concern for justice; in design, practicality, ingenuity, empathy, and a concern for appropriateness. The language of design: designers communicate in a visual or an object language. Symbols, signs, and metaphors are used through the medium of sketching, diagrams and technical drawings to translate abstract requirements into concrete objects. The way designers communicate, then, is through understanding this way of coding design requirements in order to produce built products. Design thinking in business. Design thinking has two common interpretations in the business world: designers bringing their methods into business, by either taking part themselves in business process, or training business people to use design methods. Designers achieving innovative outputs. For example, the iPod is a great example of design thinking. The first has been described by Tim Brown, CEO of IDEO, at a TED lecture, though his blog also considers an element of the second. The limits of the first kind of design thinking in business are also being explored. Not all problems yield to design thinking alone, where it may be a temporary fix. Design thinking companies including IDEO and Sense Worldwide are responding to this by building business thinking capabilities. In organization and management theory, design thinking forms part of the architecture anthropology paradigm, which characterizes innovative, human-centered enterprises. This paradigm also focuses on a collaborative and iterative style of work and an abductive mode of thinking, compared to practices associated with the more traditional mathematics psychology management paradigm. Companies that integrate the principles of design thinking in their innovation processes often share a certain mindset or are striving to cultivate a more creative and human-centered company culture. History, references, Visser, W. 2006, The Cognitive Artifacts of Designing, Lawrence L. Baum Associates. Tom Kelly and Dave Kelly, Creative Confidence, Crown Business, 2013, ISBN 978-0. 385-34936-9, pages 19 to 20. Design thinking, Thoughts by Tim Brown, http, designthinking.ido.com, N Design Thinking, Understanding How Designers Think and Work, Berg, Oxford and New York. http, design.open.ac UK Design Thinking Research H Symposia HTM, A.B. Simon, Herbert. The Sciences of the Artificial. Cambridge, MIT Press A. A.B. McKim, Robert. Experiences in Visual Thinking. Brooks Cole Publishing Company. Fast, Rolf, Bernard Rath and Douglas J. Wild, a Euro-OE Integrating Creativity into the Mechanical Engineering Curriculum. A Euro, Carey A. Fisher, ed., ASME Resource Guide to Innovation in Engineering Design, American Society of Mechanical Engineers, New York, 1993, ABC Fast, Rolf, a Euro-OE Ambidextrous Thinking Euro, Innovations in Mechanical Engineering Curricula for the 1990s, American Society of Mechanical Engineers, November 1994, Patnick, Dev, Forget Design Thinking and Try Hybrid Thinking, Fast Company, August 25, 2009. Design thinking is any process that applies the methods of industrial designers to problems beyond how a product should look. My mentor at Stanford, Rolf Fast, did more than anyone to define the term and express the unique role that designers could play in making pretty much everything. ABC Rowe, G. Peter. Design Thinking. Cambridge, The MIT Press. ISBN A978-0-262-68067-7. Brown, Tim. The Making of a Design Thinker. Metropolis October 2009, 60-62. pg 60, David Kelly. Said that every time someone came to ask him about design, he found himself inserting the word thinking to explain what it is that designers do. The term design thinking stuck. A.B. Buchanan, Richard, Wicked Problems in Design Thinking, Design Issues, Volume 8, No. 2, Spring 1992. ABCDE Cross, Nigel. Designerly Ways of Knowing. Design Studies 3.4 221-27. A.B. Lawson, Brian. How Designers Think, The Design Process Demystified. London, Architectural, 1980. Tom Ritchie. Analysis and Synthesis, on Scientific Method, based on a study by Bernhard Riemann. Systems Research 8.421-41 http, www.samorphcomanang a PDF, Design Thinking Understand a Euro Improve a Euro Apply, Springer Heidelberg Dordrecht London New York, 2011, ISBN 978-3-642-13756-3, page Ziv. Design Thinking Understand a Euro Improve a Euro Apply, Springer Heidelberg Dordrecht London New York, 2011, ISBN 978-3-642-13756-3, page XV. Rittel, Horst, and Melvin Weber. Dilemmas in a General Theory of Planning. Policy Sciences 4.2 155-69 http, www.mta.edu/467/Rittel %Tube Dilemmas PDF, Byneck, Richard. Leadership for Wicked Problems. The Innovation Journal 14.11-17. Salona, Garth. Innovation, a Leadership Essential. BizEd 2011, 26-30 http, www.gsb Stanford Edu Packages Innovation. Garth Salona PDF, Cross, Nigel. Designerly Ways of Knowing. London, Springer, 2006. Bales, David, and Ted Orland. Art and Fear, Observations on the Perils of Art Making. Santa Barbara, California, Capra, 1993. Pressfield, Stephen. The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. New York, Warner, 2002. Paragraph N, Donald A. Educating the Reflective Practitioner, Toward a New Design for Teaching and Learning in the Professions. San Francisco, Jossey Bass, 1987. Kelly, Tom, and Jonathan Littman. The 10 Faces of Innovation. London, Profile, 2006. Coburg, Don, and Jim Bagnall. The All-New Universal Traveler, A Soft Systems Guide to Creativity, Problem-Solving and the Process of Reaching Goals. Los Altos, California, Kaufman, 1981. D-School, Institute of Design at Stanford. Web August 15, 2011. http school.stanford.edu/ http www.designthinkingblog.com uploads 10/design thinking process png, W, Hugh. How do you design? A compendium of models. http www.how do you design HTML, Jones, John Christopher. Design Method Vol. 4. New York, John Wiley & Sons, 1992. Wong, Wikus. Principles of Two-Dimensional Design. New York, Van Nostrand Reinhold, 1972. Laborg, Christian. Visual Grammar. New York, Princeton Architectural, 2006. Brown, Tim. Tim Brown urges designers to think big. TEDA, http, designthinking.ido.com/ Why the D-School Has Its Limits, Stanford Daily, 15 Top MBA Employers IDEO, Fortune Magazine June 5, 2012, Jones, Andrew. The Innovation Acid Test. Axminster, Taraki Press. PA 20 http, iThinkItDesign WordPress.com 01 A Brief History of Design Thinking The Theory P1/ Asimov, Morris. Introduction to Design. Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, Prentice Hall, 1962. Alexander, Christopher. Notes on the Synthesis of Form. Cambridge, Harvard UP, 1964. A. B. Archer, L. Bruce. Systematic Method for Designers. Council of Industrial Design, HMSO, 1965. Jones, John Christopher. Design Methods. New York, John Wiley & Sons, 1970. Gordon, William J. J. Synaptics, The Development of Creative Capacity. New York, Harper, 1961, Osborne, Alex F. Applied Imagination, Principles and Procedures of Creative Thinking. New York, Scribner, 1963. http www.oxfordreference.com 10.1093 Authority 201108030954223338, Simon, Herbert A. The Sciences of the Artificial. Cambridge, MIT, 1969. Alexander, Christopher. The State of the Art in Design Methods. DMG Newsletter 533-7. Jones, John Christopher. How My Thoughts About Design Methods Have Changed During the Years. Design Methods and Theories 11.145-62. Rittel, H., 1984, Second Generation Design Methods. Developments in Design Methodology Enacross, John Wiley & Sons, UK pages 317-327. Cross, Nigel. 40 Years of Design Research. Design Studies 28, 1-4. Archer, L. Bruce. Whatever Became of Design Methodology. Design Studies 1.117-20. Hubka, Vladimir, and W. E. Eder. Principles of Engineering Design. London, Butterworth Scientific, 1982. Beitz, Wolfgang, Ken M. Wallace, and Gerard Pyle. Engineering Design. London, Design Council, 1984. French, M.J. Conceptual Design for Engineers. London, Design Council, 1985. Cross, Nigel. Engineering Design Methods. England, Wiley, 1989. Pugh, Stuart. Total Design, Integrated Methods for Successful Product Engineering. Wokingham, England, Addison Wesley Pub, 1991. Lawson, Brian. How Designers Think, The Design Process Demystified. London, Architectural, 1980. Paragraph N, Donald A. The Reflective Practitioner, How Professionals Think in Action. New York, Basic, 1983. Nonaka, Ikujira, and Hirataka Takuchi. The Knowledge Creating Company, How Japanese Companies Create the Dynamics of Innovation. New York, Oxford UP, 1995. Florida, Richard L. The Rise of the Creative Class, and How It's Transforming Work, Leisure, Community and Everyday Life. New York, Basic, 2002. Pink, Daniel H. A Whole New Mind, Why Right-Brainers Will Rule the Future. New York, Riverhead, 2006. Martin, Roger L. The Opposable Mind, How Successful Leaders Win Through Integrative Thinking. Boston, Massachusetts, Harvard Business School, 2007. Gladwell, Malcolm. Outliers, The Story of Success. New York, Little, Brown and, 2008. Brown, Tim, and Barry Carty Z. Change by Design, How Design Thinking Transforms Organizations and Inspires Innovation. New York, Harper Business, 2009. Lockwood, Thomas. Design Thinking, Integrating Innovation, Customer Experience and Brand Value. New York, Allworth, 2010. Mugridge, Bill. Designing Interactions. Chapter 6. The MIT Press. 1 edition. AB Design Thinking Understand Improve Apply, Springer Verlag Berlin Heidelberg, 2011, page V. Design Thinking Understand Improve Apply, Springer Verlag Berlin Heidelberg, 2011, page XVI. Further reading, Cross, Nigel. Design Thinking, Understanding How Designers Think and Work. Oxford UK and New York, Berg, 2011. Cross, Nigel. Designerly Ways of Knowing. London UK and Boston MA, Birkhauser Verlag AG, 2007. Gar Currency NSHIT, Christian, Tools for Ideas. An Introduction to Architectural Design. Basel, Boston, Berlin, Berger Currency User Verlag AG, 2007, ISBN 978-3-7643-7577-5. Fast, Rolf. The Human Challenge in Engineering Design. International Journal of Engineering Education, Vol 17, 2001. Kelly, Tom. 10 Faces of Innovation. London, Profile, 2006. Lawson, Brian. How Designers Think. Oxford UK, Architectural Press Elsevier, 2006. Lietka, Jan. Designing for Growth, a Design Thinking Toolkit for Managers. Columbia University Press, 2011, ISBN 0-23-115838-6, Lietka, Jan. Solving Problems with Design Thinking, 10 Stories of What Works. Columbia University Press, 2013, ISBN 0-23-116356-8, Lockwood, Thomas. Design Thinking, Integrating Innovation, Customer Experience and Brand Value. New York, Allworth, 2010. Martin, Roger L. The Opposable Mind, How Successful Leaders Win Through Integrative Thinking. Boston, Massachusetts, Harvard Business School, 2007. Nelson, George. How to See, A Guide to Reading Our Man-Made Environment. San Francisco, California, Design Within Reach, 2006. Hasso-Plattner, Christoph Meinl, Larry Lafer. Design Thinking, Understand Improve Apply. London, UK, Springer, 2010. Pink, Daniel H. A Whole New Mind, Why Right-Brainers Will Rule the Future. New York, Riverhead, 2006. Rittel, Horst, and Melvin Weber. Dilemmas in a General Theory of Planning. Policy Sciences 4.2 155-69. Paragraph N, Donald. The Reflective Practitioner, How Professionals Think in Action. New York, Basic Books, 1983. Paragraph N, Donald. Educating the Reflective Practitioner. San Francisco, Jossey Bass Incorporated, 1987. See also, Service Design, Creativity Techniques, Design Management, Design Methods, Design Patterns, Design Tool, Universal Design, User-Centered Design, Participatory Design, Scenario Thinking, Transgenerational Design, User Experience, Problem Solving, Lateral Thinking, Meta-Design, Systems Thinking, Wicked Problem, Enterprise Architecture, Portals, Portal, Thinking, Portal, Design, Lists, List of Thought Processes, List of Creative Thought Processes, Notes and References.